Hey everybody, welcome back. Wayne here. This week we're going to talk about perspective and how important that is as a couple works through all the losses and the ins and outs of infidelity. And it can be particularly difficult when you don't have the same perspective and you don't share the same feelings about all the things that have happened throughout the infidelity and what it meant and all that stuff. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit this week. I can't tell you how many couples have come into my office over the years because one or the other has had this online affair, either through email or text or Facebook or something like that. And it could be an exchange with a new acquaintance or even an old boyfriend or girlfriend. And inevitably, the betrayed spouse will read through hundreds of messages between the spouse and the affair partner. And if that wasn't bad enough, they're horrified and they're disgusted and confused by the way their spouse addresses and talks to this new person, this affair partner. Desires get expressed. Sometimes language is used that's really unfamiliar and unlike anything they've ever heard or known from their spouse. They can't believe that this is the person that they've been married to for so long. They're shocked by what they've seen and what they've heard and what their spouse has done. And it leaves them bewildered, questioning who they are and is this what their spouse really wants? And do they want to be with that wayward spouse now that they've learned these other things about them? And usually when confronted, they might deny it for a while, but the evidence is pretty clear and they'll break it off, usually pretty quickly with some explanation of fantasy or curiosity and that it really didn't mean anything. And they make it clear usually that they want the marriage, but oftentimes the faithful spouse is not so sure. Then begins this long journey of recovery and trying to come to a common understanding. This perpetual struggle begins over what was written and read versus what is now believed because of all the reading of all those messages. And a common sticking point is their inability to feel the same way about the transgressions. And in order for the betrayed spouse to feel safe, they want the unfaithful one to see their desires as disgusting as the betrayed does. They'll go back and forth for weeks, months, sometimes even years about the meaning about all of this. And the betrayed spouse will often ask, how can we go forward if we don't see it the same way? And couples struggle greatly and often get very aggressive and sometimes violent with each other when they don't see things the same way. It's a big sticking point on really how to move forward when they don't see it the same way and what the affair means. It often means something different to each of them. And I'll just tell you, I've learned over the years, it takes time and patience, a whole lot of listening, a lot of work for both parties to be able to tell the story of their subjective experience of the affair alongside all that devastating pain that it created. Here's some examples. What if your mate was involved in a same-sex relationship? And while it's not what they really desire, they still find it alluring. Or what if they find something like being spanked by you highly sexual? And you find the fact that they would find that arousing to be a little disgusting. They may understand how you feel, and you may both agree to boundaries around your sexual relationship, but now you know they still find it appealing. Why can't they see it the way you see it? What if they break off the affair, but don't feel that same hatred or disgust for the other person that you do? Can you be with someone who doesn't share the same perspective of that other person, of the affair partner? Another thing I've learned over the years is that perspective will change over time. So if the betrayed and the unfaithful can't listen to each other with empathy and compassion and seeking to understand, they will really need a skilled therapist or a coach or a pastor, someone that can work with both of them and as the couple as a unit to help them gain a better understanding, a clearer perspective, and clear meaning of the affair, and possibly of the marriage itself, and how they want to move forward. I'll ask them both to tell me their story. I want to understand, and with time, what the affair meant to each of them. I want to help them flesh out all the details so that they can share it with each other while practicing compassion for themselves and listening for one another, with one another. And I'll ask questions like, why did you have this affair now? Why this person? Who initiated it? Did you resist? How did it feel then? How does it feel now? What have you learned about yourself, about your marriage, about God, about spirituality, anything? And the list goes on. And these and other questions become very important after a clear picture of what happened is known and understood by both parties. Possibly the most uncomfortable truth about an affair is that even though it's agonizing for both parties, especially for the betrayed, if both people do their work, as well as some couples work, maybe some group work, the affair may possibly be the catalyst for the most transformation, the most transformative experience that both of them will ever have. Make absolutely no mistake about it. Extramarital affairs are devastatingly painful and mind-numbing. And whether a couple chooses to end the relationship or intends to stay together, work has to be done. It has to be done. The complexities of love, desire, commitment don't give us these simple little categories of good or bad or faithful, betrayed, and many, many other labels that I've heard over the years that come along with infidelity. Be clear too that not condemning the unfaithful does not mean condoning. There's a world of difference between understanding and justifying the behavior. There has to be the space where meaning and perspective can be explored with compassion for yourself and for your spouse. If we're able to do the same and feel the same about all of life's struggle, then life would be dull for sure. There could never be loyalty or sacrifice or love or commitment. The challenge of marriage is choosing to love our mate and acting in their best interest in spite of differences and in spite of the pain that we inflict on one another throughout our lives. It's from that perspective that we can witness the true depth of love displayed by our mate. The trouble is not actually in the struggle alone, but it's in our heart's attitude toward that struggle. We all struggle, but we all don't have affairs. We all find ourselves in situations which are bigger than our own ability to deal with. It's these growing edges. And finding the right steps and a safe place to heal is paramount. And if you're looking for a safe place to heal as a couple, please look at our EMS weekend. It is filled with expert insight and practical steps any couple can take to find healing and restoration for their marriage and possibly for their family. You can read about the course on the Affair Recovery website under the Programs tabs, so please give it a serious consideration. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. This is a really important topic to me. I feel like I talk about it all the time, that perspective does change, and you've got to do the work, and you've got to give it time, and you've got to be kind to yourself and then towards one another so you don't continue to traumatize each other. So thanks for joining me. It is always good to be here with you. Know that we at Affair Recovery are all for you and are here to help you and support you any way we can, especially during this crazy time on our planet. So thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next week.